Hi, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to this edition of Monday Morning Musing. This is Steve. I have been sharing, or last week I shared a little bit of prayer, unceasing prayer. I want to talk to you a little bit about relationality in prayer. I've noticed something. Now, this is not law. This is not dogma. This is just an observation of mine for having spent 50 years around people who pray. I have noticed that many times prayer and spending time in prayer can be very negative in two ways. Number one, conflict-averse people who cannot handle interpersonal conflict, rather than resolve the conflict, will use prayer as a hiding place. Well, I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to pray about it. No, there are some things you don't need to pray about. You just need to do. Another thing I've noticed about people who seem to be devoted to prayer, it can be a hiding place for knowingness. What do I mean? People who have very damaged and insecure senses of personhood and identity, because they are afraid of being discovered for who they really are, they can take upon themselves what they call a prayer ministry. And so that they're always in prayer. You know, if the church is open, they're at the altar, they're praying. If there's an intercessory meeting, they're praying. They're praying, they're praying, they're praying. And it's not sanctified. It's a hiding place. Because in a typical church, someone who spends a lot of time in prayer develops esteem within the community as someone who's exceptionally spiritual. And so someone who is coming across as exceptionally spiritual can use the fact of their prayer life as a smokescreen to keep you away from ever getting to really know them as a human being, apart from their so-called gift of intercession. Some of the most unwell, relationally damaged, relationally dysfunctional people I've ever met in church life have been devoted to prayer. And I don't think that's an accident. I think that is a human distortion of prayer. I'm not saying everyone, I'm saying it's common. I've seen it a lot, and I can't imagine I'm the only one. Because you see, they're insulated. Who's going to go to dear brother so-and-so or dear sister so-and-so and ever have to have a nuts and bolts conversation? And I know situations where those types of people have actually been invited, like, to go to social events, and they can't because they're in prayer. Going to go to a birthday party. They can't because they're in prayer. Going to go to the picnic. They can't because they got to pray. They're in a conflict with somebody, and another party is really seeking reconciliation, and it's going to be a safe environment. No, they can't, because they're going to be in prayer. So any good thing in the life of the church can go bad, and that includes prayer. So when prayer becomes a stumbling block, a smokescreen, a hindrance to functional human relationships, it is an ungodly thing. That is coming from human brokenness that needs to be healed. It needs to stop, and it might need deliverance. I was in a church situation once where there was someone who was highly esteemed in the community, a woman. And I used to half joke that with her that, she was a Protestant nun, because if the doors were open to the church, she was there. You could go to the church any day or night, And she would be at the altar praying. She's on the intercessors team. She's on the prayer team. She's on the spiritual warfare team. She's on the praise team. She was almost manically devoted. My wife and I were at dinner with her and her husband one time. It was just a social thing. We were just talking. And right in the middle of dinner, she gets up. She removes herself from the table. She grabs her head. She goes over to the corner of the room and she starts smashing her head against the corner of the wall. We did a deliverance that day. And let's just say that there were legions of demonic powers involved, but they were hiding behind this sweet prayer warrior. And not only was she set free to function as a normal human being, she was healed of 2 physical maladies, and she became someone who could actually relate to human beings. She was hiding behind her religious activity, and that number one activity was prayer. So, just because you have a reputation as a prayer warrior is not a status or a virtue thing necessarily in and of itself. That needs to be discerned, and if it needs to be challenged and corrected, if it's a hiding place for broken to humanity to remain in their brokenness. Yes, it happens, and I can't believe I'm the only one that's ever seen it. So keep that in mind when we talk about prayer. It can go sideways like any other good thing in the life of a believer. See you next time.